Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews, and today we have another brand new Mattel Jurassic World Epic Evolution figure. This time we've got another strike attack. We have the Tuojiangosaurus, and this is one that honestly I'm pretty excited about because it's got some pretty good paint apps on it for a Mattel figure. It definitely has paint from head to tail, and the plates are all painted. It looks really nice as far as those paint apps. The sculpt as well looks really good on top of everything. I had no doubt about that because Mattel always does a great job on their sculpts, but it does look like a very nice figure. You can see the box art again is pretty much the same as far as the Epic Evolution figures go. You can see the terrain where we might find our Tuojiangosaurus, and then here on the back another sneak peek of the figure, its action feature, as well as an image down here showing off the figures that are in this wave of strike attacks, all of which we have reviewed now, of course, except for the Velociraptor, which is just like the weirdest thing in the world. Technically we have reviewed that in the past, and I'm probably going to make a video to make sure that this is the same figure as the other one, just to, confirm for everybody. But regardless, I'm pretty psyched about this one, so let's pop it out of the box and check it out. So here is our Tuojiangosaurus, and honestly, I think this is probably one of the best stegosaur species that I've ever seen get a release from Mattel. It's got a really nice sculpt and really, again, nice paint apps, except for one area, which I will comment on here in just a moment, but overall, it is definitely a gorgeous looking figure. So let's jump to a closer look and check it out from there. So starting up here at the head sculpt of our Tuojiangosaurus, you can see it looks really nice. We actually have the mouth open, which is something you also don't see too often when it comes to different stegosaur species that Mattel releases, which definitely is pretty cool. You can see the tongue there on the inside of the mouth. The tongue is unpainted, unfortunately, but it is still nice just in general to see the mouth open like that. You can see we have a bit of a gloss coat there for the beak as well, which is really cool. As you move back here into the face, you've got a nice brownish tone, but then you have this light tone that kind of like creeps up and like patterns up into the brownish tone, and I think it looks really nice. I actually quite like the patterning and the coloration. The eye is the area I have a problem with, because even though you can see we have a green eye, which looks okay, the pupil is basically the light brown that we have there, so from a little bit further away, it doesn't look like it has a pupil. It's just got like a big green obnoxious eye, so it really did need a pupil. It's similar to other figures that Mattel has released in the past where like they just don't give it the pupil and then the coloration looks awkward, and that's exactly the same case. And honestly, the only thing I think that's stopping this figure from being one of the best strike attack style figures that Mattel has released. But as you move up here, you can see the plates are very nicely sculpted. We've got some nice kind of cracks and crevices and texturing to the plates, but they're also painted, which is super exciting because most often you wouldn't get that on a Mattel figure, so that is definitely nice. You've got a nice brownish tone, and it has a little bit of a satin shine to it, so it helps to kind of differentiate it from the rest of the body. The scale detail continues to look really nice. You've got a few kind of skin wrinkles right there as you lead down. You can see the detailing there of the underside of the throat as well. As you move back here, you start to see a black pick up and kind of pattern down along with the brown that we see there on the upper part of the dinosaur. You can kind of see that kind of meshing with the black, and it all kind of patterns and designs down here into the lighter tone of the primary body color, and it looks really cool. Definitely a fan of the design when it comes to the paint scheme. You can see more plates again as we continue to move along. They continue to be painted, and they also again continue to have nice fine detail to them. As you move down here into the front leg, you can see nice muscle definition, but you'll also notice that we do have a speckling that picks up, something that you do have through the course of the figure. You can see the elbow right there. More muscle definition the further down through the leg you go, and then as you lead down into the foot looks really quite nice. You've got some nicely sculpted toes. No nail paint, unfortunately, but they do sort of have a bit of a satin shine to them, a little bit of a glossy look, which is definitely a plus. As you continue to move along, you can see the skin texture in the stomach looks really good. Again, the speckling is really abundant on this figure. And you can kind of see the patterning sort of like taper off a little bit. As you get closer out here, you start to see the black kind of breaking up and disappearing a little bit. And by the time you actually lead out into the tail, it just completely is gone. We still have, again, paintwork on the plates, which is absolutely awesome. You can also see a little bit of that lighter tone kind of breaking through and creeping through the black up here on the top of the dinosaur, which is definitely nice to see. You've got nice muscle definition in the thigh, and again, you've got really vibrant scale detail moving down. I feel feel like the actual quality of Mattel figures has never been higher when it comes to the way that the sculpt actually looks on the figure and the way that the detail pops. Like, it's just really, really nicely done. And as you move down, you can see the knee, you can also see the calf muscle, and again, moving down into the foot sculpt, you've got like some skin wrinkling in the ankle, and then the toes sculpted out. You've also got the nails again sculpted out but not painted. You can see some of those speckles have even run down there onto the nail. And then you lead back up, and yes, we still have paintwork leading out onto the tail. You can see that we've got that brownish tone that we had on the face leading out through the course of the tail, still patterning through. We still have the plates being painted here as you move out, and I even see like a little bit of like a chip taken out of that one plate right there, and obviously that's something that was inserted by Mattel. It's not like it's a defect or something, and I think that's definitely really cool. Just a little tiny addition there that adds a nice element of realism to the figure. And then we lead out, and you can see we've got thagomizers out here at the end of the tail. I feel like they could have given these a little bit of a different coloration just to polish the figure off. Really would have been nice to see that, maybe like an off-white or something, but they still look really good, and you can see the actual fine detail to the thagomizers also looks really nice. Of course, you're going to see pretty much the same type of detailing you would expect to see on the underside. Nice skin texture, tons and tons of those speckles moving through. And then again, pretty much the same thing over here. You're not really going to see too much of a difference. You could just see the legs are positioned a little bit differently compared to what we see on the initial side. But they all look really good, very nicely sculpted. Everything looks very nicely painted for the most part, besides the thagomizers and the eye. But overall, that is an awesome release from Mattel, and definitely one of my favorites when it comes to these Strike Attack size range figures to come along in quite some time. As far as articulation goes, you do have a swivel in the neck, which was really stiff. You could tell I had not moved it up until that point. You can totally swivel the neck around if you really want to be crazy. You can also, of course, move the legs. You can see those move forward and back. As you move it, though, you'll notice there's a gap right there, and that's because that's how you activate the action feature. Just like with the others, you'll press it down. You also have articulation in the rear leg, which can go back pretty far, forward pretty far, and then, of course, articulation in the tail. You can kind of see it moving up and down, and that is because the tail kind of strikes here. It actually only strikes to one side, so as you can see, it's turning and striking. That's actually pretty neat. You know, I haven't seen an action feature like that from Mattel before when it comes to one of these species that quite, you know, have like that turn to the tail and everything. So that is definitely quite cool. Also, let me move this up for a second because I do want to bring in the Jurassic Facts code so that you can add this to your collection just in case you want to, because I forgot to show that off before. But definitely very nicely sculpted, of course, nicely painted, nice articulation, and a pretty cool action feature. But as far as the size goes, for a length, you are looking at about 7 1/8, so about 7 inches and about 1/8, or around the 18 centimeter mark. And then for a height, about 3 1/4 inches, or just under 8.5 centimeters. For a size comparison, there is Mr. Papo T-Rex, the Attack Pack Colovosaurus, Robert Muldoon, and the Collect Day Human Being here next to our Mattel Tuojiangosaurus. And you can see it's got pretty much the size range you would expect. And of course, that's a very common thing when it comes to the Strike Attacks or, you know, the Savage Strikes or whatever figure. It's always the same size for no matter what the title is. They're usually very much so the same size as they usually are. You can see specifically if we take that out of there and we have just the Colovosaurus and the Tuojiangosaurus. Well, maybe we should move them a little further forward next to each other. You can see they are very similar in size. So when it comes to any kind of like a quadrupedal, you know, Danger Pack, Attack Pack, Savage Strike, you know, Strike Attack, any type of figure like that, you're already going to have a pretty good idea of the size of this figure. And then for one more comparison, just to further show you that we have another quadrupedal Mattel figure in the same similar size range as we have the Borealis Pelta here next to our Tuojiangosaurus, just to show you that even those two are, again, pretty similar in size. So this brand new Mattel Jurassic World Epic Evolution Strike Attack Tuojiangosaurus is really nice. Aside from the eyes, I think it's an excellent figure. The sculpt is gorgeous for sure. There's very nice fine detail throughout, and that's very common when it comes to Mattel. I never expect, you know, bad sculpt work when it comes to a Mattel figure. Maybe an outlandish design, but when it comes to the fine detail, they always shine, and they definitely do yet again for the Tuojiangosaurus. But the thing that's most exciting about this one is the paint apps. We have paint from head to tail, and it looks awesome because of it. Mattel absolutely knocked this one out of the park when it comes to the paintwork, aside from the eyes anyway, because It again has that fully painted feel. Even without the nail paint, I still feel like it has that fully painted feel, which is very exciting. And just look at how much better the figure looks than your average Mattel release. It just looks incredibly nice with so much paintwork. And the fact that the plates are painted and everything is just so beautiful to look at when it comes to this figure. Something that normally would be kind of missed or neglected on the part of Mattel. They have done us a great service and added that paintwork, and again, it definitely pays off in the final product. The only downsides to the figure, again, would be the lack of painted nails, the pupil not being a very good obvious color, and the Thagamizers could have used paintwork on them, but it's not the end of the world. Otherwise, it is an excellent figure when it comes to the paint scheme and paint application. We also have some pretty nice articulation, you know, nothing over the top, but it's decent, and the action feature is pretty cool. I actually am quite a fan of it. I think it's a little bit different than what you usually see from Mattel, kind of similar, but it's not something I've seen before, so that is also a plus. And I also like the fact that you push the body down to activate the action feature on a lot of these newer figures, because it eliminates an ugly button being somewhere on it, so that also is again a plus. So as a whole, definitely a really nice figure, and if you are interested, I will include a link in the description to where you can purchase one on Big Bad Toy Store, which is exactly where I purchased mine, or you can also purchase the entire wave and just get all of them in one shot. So if you'd like to grab this, make sure you check that link in the description. Go grab yourself another amazing Mattel figure, and also like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.